Harley Davidson dealership closes, so the staff set up their own business. Watch this video. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So the local Harley Davidson dealership closes, as was with mine. And then I find out just yesterday that some of the staff got together and they set up their own business. Brilliant. What happened? Why was this the case? So I've made videos in the past saying, well, what happens when a dealership closes, whatever the dealership is. It's really tough for the people who work there, and I always feel really sorry for them because that's their income, that's their livelihood, right? But I always say that there's an opportunity out there for those workers to set up something else or go and find jobs elsewhere in a similar kind of trade. And that's usually the case. That's usually what happens. In the case of a specialist brand, or in the case of Harley Davidson, then this gives a great opportunity for guys who worked at the dealership, whether they're sales guys, whether they're in the workshop, usually from in the workshop, in the parts departments, that kind of thing. If they can set up their own workshop, then that enables them to gather a lot of trade that would have normally gone to the Harley Davidson dealership in terms of servicing and that kind of thing. Now, they may not be able to do warranty work, and some independent workshops can do warranty work. It really depends if they're approved by Harley Davidson, but most can't. They can do the rest of the stuff. So after a couple of years, your bike runs out of warranty, or let's face it, you don't really care whether your warranty is there or not. You just want the work done on your bike. You just want stuff changed on your bike. Now you can take it to an independent workshop like these guys have set up. And I just think it's great. I think it's great that they've taken this initiative. You know, I always think there's a void there for local guys who work at dealerships, and then they're wondering, what can we do now? And think, well, we'll go it alone. And, you know, we're going to capture a lot of trade. So this was the situation I found myself in yesterday. I went to a local Indian motorcycle dealership just down the road here, not because I wanted to go and buy an Indian. What I was inquiring about was online motorcycle sales from these sort of cheaper Chinese brands that are being imported into this country. And what happens is that you can buy online, but there's always a local service centre that deals with the warranties and deals with the servicing of those motorcycles. And also you can pick up the motorcycle directly from that dealership there. So I thought, let me just go and have a chat with them to see what's what. So as I walked in the door, one of the ex-Harley Davidson workers just popped up to me, right, and said, "Hi, how are you?" And so we had got into a totally long conversation about what had happened, about the Harley Davidson dealership, how they set up their own business behind the Indian dealership, and now they're a Harley Davidson service centre. Now, they're not approved, and they're trying to get some relationship with Harley Davidson. And this is, as a previous video, I talked about service centers that can have a relationship or get approved by Harley Davidson. That means they can buy parts direct from the company and not from other dealerships. So therefore that reduces their costs a little bit. So it kind of makes them more in tune with what's going on at Harley Davidson. But in terms of overall setting up their own workshop, they've done it. They've got funding from the guys who actually own the Indian dealership as well. They've set it up. It looks great. Yeah, it's bits and pieces all over the place, but they're just getting this place up and running. I mean, it's been up and running a few months by all accounts. I just didn't know. I mean, that just goes to show how attuned I am with the local bike scene. But it was really interesting to hear that they're mopping up a lot of trade that would have gone to the dealership, or that people would have gone to the dealership, Harley Davidson dealership, and they would have bought other bikes or bought accessories. Those people are now going into the Indian dealership and buying Indian motorcycles or buying Indian stuff or trading in their Harleys. But if they are keeping their Harleys, they're going to this workshop. Now, what have they got in this workshop? Well, they haven't just got your, just low-level techs. No, they've got master techs working there, or advanced techs working there. They got the big, the parts guy who was always there as well. Couple of others who they've all joined forces to start up this new business, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. I always praise guys who start up their own business, especially when they're being faced with some kind of adversity in terms of all losing their jobs. They think, right, let's just build up our own brand. Let's just build up our own business. So the trick is for them is to try and get this relationship with Harley Davidson officially. But even if they don't get this official recognition, then they're going to mop up lots of business. Now, one of the problems that comes with starting up your own Harley Davidson service center is about brand recognition. So they've already had issues in terms of brand identity and how the motor company have spoken to them and said, you can't do this, you can't call yourself this, you can't have this on your website because it looks too much like Harley Davidson branding. And my point, this is only my thought here, is that this is so short-sighted from Harley Davidson Motor Company in that you could have independent service centers that are not taking up any business away from dealerships because the dealerships are just not there. They've closed down. So there's a need for an area to have an independent workshop or a service center. So why don't you get that to a close bond? Why don't you let them have a bit of the branding, a bit of the identity of Harley Davidson, but they're still independent. And you're just going to make even more sales in terms of parts direct to that service center. And as otherwise, you just would have had those parts going direct to a dealership. That just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to me that all of a sudden you would try and forge a much closer relationship with new startup businesses. So again, this is really a strange decision for me from Harley Davidson Motor Company, corporate as it were, their brand managers or their brand identity. It's that you're more interested in your brand rather than building up your business and getting stronger working relationships and building up that Harley Davidson community or trying to rescue that community. And this is what happens. If you don't feed that community, I made a video about it recently as well. If you don't nurture that community and do right by them, then they're going to go elsewhere. And they'll start doing other things. That is not going to be helpful to the motor company themselves. So these independent workshops, when they start up, they might not be able to do every single little thing. They might not be able to do warranty work, that kind of thing. But they can do a hell of a lot of work. So I would always say, if you find one of these places, and if you know me, if you know where I live, in which town I live, then you'll kind of know where I'm talking about. This is the Indian Motorcycle dealership, Rideworks. Behind there's a Harley Davidson service center. They're called 1HD right now, but I think there's a problem with the name right now. But, it's a Harley Davidson service center. They've got master techs working there. They've got a couple of lifts. They can do all the work that you need. So if you find these independent workshops nearby, whether there's a dealership nearby or not, they're probably going to beat them on price. They're probably going to give you a really good service. And because they're a small workshop as well, they're probably going to give you a much better attention, as it were. Because, they really want your business and they really want to keep a really good reputation. So they're not going to act like a dealership as if they couldn't care about you. It's part of them to be, it's in their interest to keep you on their side and also to use you as a promotional tool to say, look, you've had great service here, go and tell your friends so they bring their bikes here as well. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. So I'm really really positive about those guys who started up. They know who they are. I'm not going to mention them, but they know who they are. And listen, fantastic stuff. People going out on their own, starting up their own businesses and mopping up where, Harley Davidson are failing and, fall on Harley Davidson for not having closer relationships or making it so much easier for these independent workshops to start up and have a much better, closer relationship with Harley Davidson company themselves. I think it's a bit ludicrous, really. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But as I say, if you find independent workshops, do your research, look at their reputation, look at the work that they do, look at the kinds of bikes that they go in there. Look at the kind of work that they're doing on those bikes. Can they work only on new bikes? Can they work on really old bikes as well? Then you'll really know whether that workshop is for you. But I say they're worth their weight in gold. If I've got a problem with my Harley now and I can't fix it or I haven't got the tools, well, guess what? I'm taking my bike there. For my annual service check, for my annual roadworthy check, we call it the MOT here, well, guess what? I'm going to take it there. You know, so that whole area, there's lots of motorcycle businesses that have started up, and it's a little mecca for motorcycle activity. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Could not wish better things for these guys. Look, because it serves the motorcycling community. And if you've got a big dealership that closes down, there is a void, and that void is being filled by these guys. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, just keep on watching the videos, and I'll catch you again. And don't forget, you can go to the website, RevelatorAlf.com/books, for all my motorcycle books and everything else. You can get them on Amazon as well. Right, and with that, a bit of afternoon tea. Catch you again. Bye now.